Hey, good morning, everybody, and welcome to Invisible Condition. It's not all in your head. I'm your host, Jeff Pearson, and we want everybody with an invisible condition to know beyond the shadow of a doubt that you do have a voice, you have a community, and you are never alone. And I am going to bring my co-host on here, Michal LeBaron, who you will probably remember from previous episodes because we've done this a few times now. Plus, she's awesome. So you should remember her from all of that. Hey, Michal.
Hi, thank you. What a generous intro. Thank you.
So what are we gonna be talking about today? Tell people a little bit about yourself that maybe people haven't for some reason seen an episode with you yet. And then what are we gonna be talking about today?
Yep, for sure. So I'm Michal LeBaron, and I struggled with my own invisible conditions, stuff that you couldn't see on the outside, and was a mystery to a lot of doctors, specialists, holistic people. They didn't know what was going on. And some of them had some theories that were very limited in view and didn't really help me fully recover. But it got so bad I was actually bedridden for years. So it was very, very serious, very, very painful, very, very scary. And, really through my journey of finding, the healing path that I did, I was able to fully resolve what was going on with me. And so we actually know now it was an autoimmune disease. I was attacking my blood vessels as well as many other things in my body. And so that would have probably led to a few different autoimmune diagnoses. Sure. I had a genetic liver condition. Genetic stuff's supposed to be permanent. I had serious allergies and sensitivities and, pretty big reactions to things. And so, I was told that all of that would be lifelong. And that's just what I was taught. And so I went to managing it. You manage it with diet, with supplements, with chiropractor all the time, different tools, air purifiers, water purifiers, all sorts of different things, tools, modalities, remedies, techniques, you name it. I probably did it. And, I kind of woke up one day with just knowing, this doesn't mean I'm healthy. This means I'm a sick person. If I can't do XYZ like a normal person and I have to do XYZ like a crazy person, I think I'm still sick. And so I said there has to be a better way. And obviously, I don't know what it is. And at that time, I was a functional medicine practitioner, had a master's in nutrition, dozens of certifications in other techniques, modalities, and things. And I just was like, I don't know how to be fully healthy. So clearly, it's none of these things that's going to get me there. What don't I know? I don't know. And what my research led me to, and what I believe God led me to, was learning about my nervous system and how to regulate it. And that the nervous system is controlling everything in the body, every cell, every down to the nucleus of the cell. It's the communication system of the body. And so I have to be able to access that system if I'm going to have my cells work in a healthy way. And within 3 months of focusing very hardcore on that, I was able to reintroduce foods I couldn't eat in over a decade with no reactions. And so it's like anaphylactic reactions going away. It's just, it was starting to blow my mind. Like, how is this possible? I was able to wean off all supplements and meds and don't need any of those to be healthy. I was able to, when I reran my blood work, there were no signs of my autoimmune disease that I've ever had one, no signs of my genetic condition, which has shown up in my blood tests ever since I was a baby. So it was just gone now. And also like food allergy panels, like confirmation that my immune system was totally normal and there were no allergies there. So that's really what I'm passionate about sharing is, one, we're not told if we're told that our bodies can heal, we're not told that that's serious, like that your body really can heal itself if it's in the right state and you give it a few months to do so. And I love educating people that it is possible. I live it in my own life, and I work with clients daily, and I have a team that works with clients daily, and we're seeing that with all of our clients. So it's really exciting and hopefully bring some hope. And what we'll go into today, I know you're going to ask me a question, but what we're going to go into is we're going to continue the series we're on, and we're starting kind of a new way of going about it. So we're actually going to start the 5 core principles to living in the parasympathetic nervous system in a regulated state. And that's what I did. That really staying there within just a few months is enough to help the body to heal 24/7 and go repair the damage and go get everything to its optimal function. And I know you always ask me this, so I'm going to say it. It's eye-opening when we realize our body replaces 75% of its cells every 6 months, and like all of it every 11 months, and our digestive system and immune system every 30 days. So when we look at how quickly the body is replacing itself with brand new cells, it doesn't make sense why we have to be sick forever and why these are lifelong, unless if you're producing not fully healthy cells. And we only do that. Yeah. We produce survival cells when we're in our survival nervous system, but we produce growth healing cells when we are in the parasympathetic, and that's really the key. So we're going to be walking through the 5 foundational ways that we teach our clients how to learn to live in a regulated state all the time.
Nice. I did have a question because of something that came up that has come up in the last several episodes I've recorded with different people over the last few weeks. And I've mentioned this type of stuff to them because, a lot of them are in the same realm or partly in the same realm and want to be healthy. And so I say, within a year, roughly, just estimating, within a year, your body turns over, 100% of itself. You're brand new every year. So why do people have continuing things going on their whole life, hereditary and all this? And they corrected me several times. And one of them said, no, it's not every 11 months. It's every 2 years, every 5 years, every 7 years, like all these different metrics of how often it actually does. So where did that 11 months come from? And why is there such a big variety of,
Yep. I used to say 7 years for a long time. Like if you look up our old videos, I used to say 7 years.
That's the most common one I get.
But you don't have to replace 100% of your body is not defective. There's these few organs or systems or, you know what I mean? Some processes that are not working well. So clearly, also, so I don't know why. I think it's different body of research. And I actually last year or this year, I was led to new research that was actually saying, we know now it's 11 months. So I was like, well, that's cool. I mean, I'll start saying that, but it was news to me. I always taught 7 years because it's the bones and it takes the longest and whatever. Right. I don't have a great answer for that, but I do know that to the point of what we teach and what we see, on average for our clients, they're getting fully healthy within 3 to 5 months. Okay. And that's even faster than the 11-month thing that I'm saying. So it really is like, I think when the body is in the parasympathetic, it works very, very differently than when we're constantly in a compromised state. And I think that a lot of times it depends, we're doing studies. Yeah. They're doing studies out there, but like, are they in the sympathetic? Are they in the parasympathetic? Like, I don't know. There's so many factors. So What
Okay.
I come down to at the end of the day is my own experience that I live and what
Yeah.
I see in the day-to-day examples of clients. And, I try to be as accurate and up to date as I can on medical research, but I know people have different opinions.
Okay. I was just curious. I just wanted to get your take on that
Yeah.
only because I've heard so many different ones over
Yep. I have to.
so yeah.
Yep.
Okay, cool. All right, let's go. What are
Okay.
we talking? What are we doing?
Okay. So the number one is, so remember there's 5, and there's 5 core pieces that we teach that help people live in a different way. And there's a lot of different words I could use to describe it, but we're going to go one at a time. So the one today that we're looking at is being present. And the way I used to say this was, we got to slow down, right? And everyone knows that we have to slow down and be in the moment and not be all caught up in our mind and our thoughts and our worries and tomorrow and the next thing and this autopilot, in our reactionary system, just going through the motions of life. And that's where the majority of people are. Really, to be quite frank, the majority of people are there. I think it's like 8% and less, maybe ever.
It's almost like a badge of honor.
Yes.
That they're I'm so busy and I have and they're all over the place. It's almost like if you're not doing life right. You're supposed to be busy and crazy and hectic, but not so much.
No, it doesn't serve anyone really. So in learning to be present, it's like, how do you teach somebody an experience, not a concept? And that's the challenge. And that's really what we focus on with our clients is we don't just want to teach information or give information that they can kind of like understand the concept of. That does no one any good. In fact, a lot of what we say, they're like, yeah, I know I need to do that. It's like, yeah, but you don't experience it in your body. So you don't really know it in your own experience. And so what I've spent a lot of time in the last many years is actually not just sharing the concepts of what I'm learning, but switching gears. How do I get these concepts in my own body, in my own experience, that I can describe it in my own words? And I actually worked with a mentor for several years in the last few years who was very much, you don't know that in your own experience. She would point out every time I said something that it was just words to me. It wasn't something I was really living. And it was so helpful for me to be like, oh my God, you're right. Well, cool. I can grow deeper into a deeper experience. Let's go. So that really helped me learn how do I give people experiences. And what it is it's not giving them the answers. It's actually giving them pointers towards the answer. So everything I'm going to say today is actually a pointer in a direction towards the answer. Okay. And there's several different ones that we can talk about that you guys can implement and try to see and explore what your own experience is and how to integrate this into your life. So,
but just one last thing. I just want to throw this out there. I put this QR code on the screen so that if anything you hear today, whether you're watching on YouTube or Facebook or E360 or whatever, if you're on YouTube or Facebook where it's easy to comment, just comment yes. If anything like, wow, that blew my mind. I want to learn more about that, or I have questions about that, or that's not true, or you want to, whatever. If you want to talk to Michal about it, scan the QR code or just put yes in the comments or something in the comments so we know that when we go back to through those comments, she can get in touch with you and help you with anything you have a question about. So there you go. That QR code will be up there for at least the majority of the show. So
love it.
Go for it. Yep.
Thank you so much. So, okay. So how do we point to being present? One of the ways that I really learned this experientially was through like a Vipassana meditation. So what their whole thing is becoming aware of as many senses as possible. So you're thinking sight, sound, smell, taste, physical feeling, like feeling the clothes, feeling the pressure on my sit bones that I'm sitting in a chair, my feet in my shoes, pushing on the ground. And also our senses are our inner feelings like emotions, thoughts, and things of the inner nature, right? Inner world. So learning to just observe those senses and expand our awareness to as many of those senses as possible is actually a way to get present. And so people could do this for 15 minutes, and just what's arising now, like just notice everything they notice. Like even as I talk about it, I notice I get a little more present. Before I was just looking at your face, but behind you is a window. Now I'm looking at your face, but I can see the leaves of the trees blowing in the window. Just from becoming aware of my senses, I can also hear I have a fan going in here, and all of a sudden I can hear it, whereas before I was tuning it out.
Yep.
So these kinds of things as we describe, and maybe you even take 2 minutes and just come back. What do I hear? What do I taste? What am I seeing? Even with your eyes closed, you can still see shadows and colors and, things.
Yep.
What am I seeing? What am I smelling? What am I tasting? What am I feeling? What are my emotions? What thoughts are arising? And as you become the observer of these senses, you actually become present. So another way to say what is present, what is being grounded, right? That's a big buzzword. Oh, grounding.
Yeah.
Well, people, our clients have tried everything. So they've already done all the grounding stuff. They don't really know how to be grounded internally. They don't know how to be present internally. They're doing these things, but they do not have the experience in their being. And so that's what we're working on, is if you have any chronic symptoms, any chronic illnesses whatsoever, or any signs of fight, flight, freeze, fawn behaviorally, like perfectionism, anxiety, anger, triggers, people pleasing, codependence, feeling dissociated or checking out. Those are all signs you're in fight or flight or freeze or fawn. That's the sympathetic nervous system. So if you have any of those, I guarantee you do not know how to be present. You might know the concept about it, but you do not know it in your own body, in your own nervous system, or those would not be there. Eckhart Tolle, love The Power of Now, his book, The Power of Now. He really talks about being present, being in the now, and the power that has in every area of life. So it's a great book if you want to look it up. But, the whole thing is all about just this. And so it's well worth learning to do and be. It's not really doing, it is a being present.
Yep.
So that's one way, is to go through the senses. And another way to talk about what presence is it's like we're either living life from our mind, habits, personalities, reactions, these automatic responses, our thoughts that we are our thoughts usually, and we're going through the life from the survival mind, or from ego, which is our personality structure that's built to survive, and has all our conditioned belief systems and all of that. And so, or we're observing, we're the neutral observer, and that gives us an even more awareness to see, oh, what are those patterns? And we start looking at them differently, and we question them, and we can see where they came from maybe. And it starts pattern interrupting. My main job is interrupting people's patterns, because if they're unhealthy and they're in a survival state all the time, sympathetic dominance, then we have to interrupt those survival patterns to allow them to really see what's being triggered. Why are they in that state? When did it start? And gain that clarity, which can happen very quickly. But we're moving from that survival to being the observer. And simply, if there was nothing else I taught ever but to be present, people naturally would end up uncovering for themselves, or realizing, connecting dots. They would naturally end up on the path I was on. We just help people do it in 3 to 5 months instead of years and years and years to figure all this out, right? But just being present and observing what's going on actually takes you out of the mind, into the body, into the present moment. And then we can feel stuff. When we get invited to a holiday party, we're present and observing all of our senses, including our intuition, discernment, and gut instincts. We can feel, we know that's too much. And I don't want to tell you no. So I'm going to say yes to people please you. Right? It's like if you slow down enough, you can actually catch the thought patterns. You can catch those, behavioral habits, emotional habits that are
Yeah.
happening and interrupted enough to become aware and bring awareness there. So
Yeah.
the goal then is to go from neutral into more of a positive state, which just means authentic. You're deeply honest with yourself and others. You're in integrity, your discernment and intuition is turned on. You are in a relationship with yourself that is loving, supportive, and nurturing. It's like learning how to parent yourself. I can say, no,
Yeah.
you do need to pick up after yourself, right? But it's from love. And it's also like, oh my God, you had a hard day. Oh, come here. Let me give you love and compassion, right? A healthy parent for ourselves. So we can then develop that. But being present is the first step for being able to see where we've been operating in survival and make those healthy choices consciously to move over into a more preferred or more healthy state of a relationship with ourselves and life.
Yes.
So Vipassana meditation, basically just getting aware of your senses, doing this throughout the day for 1 minute at a time, or doing it every day for 15 minutes at a time. Doesn't really matter. There's no right or wrong. It's whatever helps you engage with this that allows you to discover for yourself what it actually means to be present. And it's amazing because when I am fully present, there are no worries of the future or regrets of the past. I'm in this now moment.
Yeah.
And I have discernment. I am regulated. We talk about attachment styles and relationships. I can be secure and non-reactive in that state. I'm not coming from trauma triggers from the past. I'm like present. So there's a lot of benefits to this. And when you truly are grounded or present, aware in the now moment, whatever we want to call it, we are in the parasympathetic. The goal is learning to live there all the time. But if you guys, as you practice this, and I know we got to go to commercial real quick, but as you practice this, you will feel the differences in your body. So ask, just go be normal and notice how you feel. Then do a practice like this and then check in. How do I feel? What was that experience in my body? And see if you can start noticing those subtle changes. There's dozens, there's hundreds, really. There's probably thousands of changes that we could be aware of, but it takes time. So see if you can just pick one or two things that you notice is different. How do you think differently, feel differently? What does your body feel like? Because if you become aware of this, then you'll start noticing, oh wait, I'm back in survival. I'm not feeling that same way. Or this is what survival feels like. And this is what being present feels like. The more you become aware, the more naturally you'll pattern interrupt yourself because you're aware of it. But then you can choose to go back and be present. And this is a practice then that requires conscious choice and commitment and consistency to continue to do that and expand awareness until that becomes your new normal, your new state of operating. And it'll be unconscious to you then. You'll just be present all the time, and it'll be weird when you're not, or it'll be weird when you're activated, but you'll see it clearly. So then it's an invitation to do more personal inner work, right? It's like, there's no big deal. So, but this is why this is one of our core foundational starting points, is because it really changes everything. Without this piece, none of the work you will ever do, no supplement you will ever take, no diet you will ever do, will ever fully be absorbed, or, your body's still going to be compromised. So with this piece, everything else can become more effective. You can really gain the clarity very quickly.
And maybe on the other side of the break that we're going to go to right now, we can talk about you've mentioned this to me when we've talked, but I don't know if we've said this on a show. So the different steps of like unconscious incompetence, conscious incompetence, all that. So there's 4, right? So so I think it would be valuable to just run through those real quick when we come back, just because that's going to help with all of these steps, is when you're in unconscious competence in these steps. That's when it's a beautiful thing.
Which is mastery.
Yep. So we'll dive into that after we get back. So everybody stick around, and there will be more on the other side of the break. You're not going to want to miss it. Stick around. We'll see you soon.
In a world where office workers typically receive 130 daily emails and have an 8-second attention span, CoreCentrica, with her 4 decades of international marketing experience, has partnered with the Learning Code Institute and their 30 years of neuroscientific research. Together, we are crafting unique messaging strategies that resonate, connect, and ultimately convert our target audiences. CoreCentrica, where award-winning creativity and disruptive neuroscience come together. Scan this code now, or call and click, and let us show you how CoreCentrica's partnership with the Learning Code Institute is influencing how businesses connect with their audience, foster engagement, and achieve conversions.
Tired of losing cell service in dead zones? Concerned about connectivity in emergencies? There is now an answer. Introducing the Love Pod. The world's first affordable encrypted global internet Wi-Fi hotspot connects with multiple service carrier networks and is satellite assisted when no service carrier networks are available. So it works virtually anytime, anywhere. Connect up to 9 devices, like our cell phone, laptop, desktop, TV, security cam, and more. Stream, chat, text, download, and make phone calls, all with no roaming fees. With mesh capability, the Love Pods will grow in strength and speed with each new pod activated to create a private terrestrial-based intranet called Love Global Network. The Love Pods are dual blockchain encrypted with Love's proprietary 2048-bit cube chain encryption, giving you the ultimate protection in data privacy and security against digital attacks and hacks to your devices. You are no longer tracked, and your data is never sold. Get the Love Pod, your private, encrypted, portable global internet Wi-Fi hotspot, and stay safe and stay connected.
Hi everyone, I'm Andy.
And I'm Minna.
We're the hosts of Chronically Healthy Life.
Join us Fridays at 7 p.m. Central Time on Vitality TV to see how we flip the idea of chronic on its head and create chronic health in our bodies, minds, finances, and relationships, right here on E360 TV.
All right, welcome back, everybody. Before we bring Michal back for the second half of the show, I want to talk to you about Invisible Condition University, ICU for short. Honestly, ICU is something that I wish I would have had 10 years ago. In the last 10 years, I've gone through 4 brain surgeries and 2 others that were related to the reason for the brain surgery. It's been a crazy 10 years. And every time that I had to have surgery, my wife and family were mostly on our own without anybody to help. Once you leave the hospital, they forget your name, and they're great when you're in there, but once you leave, it's over. And that's why my wife, Catherine, and I created ICU. We wanted to provide a place where other people like us, maybe like you, would have a place that, a community really that is here to listen and care and walk with you through this, no matter what's going on. We meet twice a month on Zoom. The next one will be December 17th. Tonight, later this afternoon at 3 p.m. Mountain Time. Today is the next call. So you still have time to be a part of it. If you'd like to come, bring yourself, bring your caregiver, ask questions, vent frustrations. You might find information during this call that you aren't finding in your medical provider's repertoire. If you'd like to learn more or would like to receive a free month of membership in ICU, go to this QR code or this website, and I would look forward to seeing you there this afternoon at 3 p.m. Mountain Time. So let's bring Michal back on, and here we go. All right. And I think we've got enough to talk about that. I don't think I'm not even going to worry about another. This is it. We're going to go full steam ahead here. So yeah. What are we? Oh, that's right. We were talking about something before the break.
Oh, yes. How do we master anything but this? Yes. So really there is your unconscious, and incompetent, meaning we don't even know what we don't know.
Yep.
It's totally in our blind spot, which, by the way, you can never look at the back of your own head, right?
Yeah.
So how do we look at the back of our heads? Do you know?
The mirror.
Yes, in the mirror. So everything that we teach is essentially, it's just a mirror to be able to access and see into the unconscious patterns, habits, unresolved inner stuff. And that's essentially it. And once you have the mirrors, you can do this for yourself. You're not reliant and codependent on anyone to keep telling you what's going on with you. And so that's what I really love about this, is you have agency, and I'm really passionate about that.
Yeah.
So there's unconscious incompetence.
Yep.
Then there's conscious incompetence. So you still are doing the same patterns and habits, and you still have the same issues, but you are now aware of them. The majority of my work is actually bringing the unconscious conscious.
Yep.
And that's actually 50% of the progress already. I would say it's more. It's more like 90% of the progress right there.
Yeah.
So just becoming aware of something makes all the difference. And one of my favorite quotes is that to see it, you have to have grown beyond it. So to see that you have had a habit, for example, to see that you've had a habit means you have to have grown beyond it. So that means it's not a habit anymore. And now it's a choice. So when you become conscious of what you're doing, where you're not competent and where you wish maybe there were changes that you could make and things would be different that you would experience, that's so powerful. And most of it, and Carl Jung, which we follow and teach a lot of stuff from Jungian psychology, his quote is that until you bring the unconscious conscious, it will rule your life and you will call it fate. And so that really, everything has to be at that unconscious level, which means cellular, genetic, DNA level. It's not the stuff we all are aware of that's causing the problems. It's the stuff we don't know. And that's why it's so, that's where healing has to be if it's going to be permanent. So unconscious incompetence, then we're conscious of it. And so then we can make a conscious choice instead of all these unconscious choices. And that's where it's maybe painful a little bit, but that's where the learning and the growth actually happens, is when I'm now, that's so funny. Sorry. Unconscious incompetence. Then it's conscious competence.
Conscious incompetence and then conscious competence, right? Those are the.
So yeah, we've got, I'm unconsciously incompetent.
Don't know what you don't know.
Now I'm aware of it, that I'm consciously incompetent.
Yep.
Now I can choose to be competent, but it requires conscious effort.
Yep.
So it's actually conscious competence. That means I'm making choices to pattern interrupt all of those patterns and habits and behaviors that are survival based, unhealthy, that come from shadow aspects and traumas and all of that, right? Conditioning and I have to be the good girl and blah, blah, blah. So, and be codependent and what have you. So I'm consciously choosing to change. I'm consciously choosing to pattern interrupt. And mastery is that final step, that fourth step, where I'm now unconsciously competent. So I don't even have to think about it. It's just who I am. It's just fully integrated. It's just how I go about life. So, and that's what I was describing before our commercial break, is at some point, this is going to be your new default. The parasympathetic is going to be where you live all the time. And it's going to be really weird when you're triggered out of that. It's going to be so obvious to you because that's not normal for you now.
Right.
That's mastery. That did not happen for me in 3 months, but that happened for me as I was diligent, committed, consistent, and I showed up and I had integrity. I applied over time, consistently, the things that I had learned. And I made those choices and those pattern interrupts wherever I found them. And I kept going. And now there's so many things that I look back and I'm like, oh, I forgot that ever was a thing. Or, I forgot I ever had that symptom. And clients tell me this in 3 to 5 months, they have mastered some things that they're like, oh, I forgot I ever had anxiety or sleep problems. Yeah. I forgot. And it's like, that was literally your worst symptom. How could you forget? But it's because you're so far out of that stuff.
Yeah.
Get to the mind isn't even aware of it anymore. To me, that is true, deep, unconscious healing when we're not even aware of it anymore. And for me,
Yep.
it took years to integrate all this into my life. But the beauty is the awareness is there. And when you have awareness and it's conscious, not unconscious, that's when everything can change in our bodies down to the cellular level, that in our genes. I could rabbit trail on all that.
Oh yeah.
In our antioxidants and redox systems. There's so much. Maybe we'll spend some videos on that. But
the one thing that I just heard it at a conference that I was at about a couple of months ago, and his example was driving.
yes.
So his example was driving. In his case, his name's Paul, and in his case, his oldest daughter, he's got 6 kids, but his oldest daughter, with the first time to teach somebody to drive, she had never sat in the driver's seat. She had never seen that there's pedals down there. She had never seen any of that. And so when she sat in that driver's seat the first time, it was first of all, it was unconscious competence, because she didn't know what she didn't know. And then when she sat in that driver's seat and saw those pedals, she's like, what in the world is that? And it was total conscious incompetence. Like, I have no idea what to do with that.
Yeah.
And then once you learn to drive, you're really aware of your surroundings and really aware of where your mirrors are, and doing the signal every time. And then unconscious competence is where you've got a burger in one hand, your phone in the other, you're steering with your knee, right? Yeah. And you don't even remember driving where you went to.
Yes.
It's so ingrained in your brain now that you don't even have to think about it. So that's the example I was given before I heard it from you. That's kind of the example I got. So I don't know.
Very good. And then it's that's not the end. There's no arriving, but then you can become aware of even more things. So it's like a constant expanding, and that's really what we're here for, beyond getting from sick to it being healthy. Then it's like, well, how do I grow as a person, and how do I be healthy, not just in my physical health, the finances and everything else? And so you can keep using that ever expanding, growth process to continue learning. Yeah. So let's talk about, I want to give you some more pointers. We only talked about one so far, which is kind of just becoming aware of your senses, maybe playing with some Vipassana meditation, but there are others. So a late mentor, they had a very easy process they called grounding, and I will show you. So I pick something to stare at. I'm going to put my hands on top of my shoulders here like this, and I'm going to take 3 deep breaths. My feet are flat on the floor. We're going to switch our arms now. 3 more deep breaths. And that's it. And all I'm thinking about, you might take note if you did it with us, how you feel. I feel a difference even in myself. So you want to take note of how you feel. And the intention is just to slow down and be in the body and be present and connect. It's not to
not close your eyes, right?
Say that again.
And not close your eyes. You want to focus on something with your eyes open.
Yep. Keep them open. Idea. Let it in. You're not escaping. People want to escape. Don't escape. Be out here.
There you go.
Present. Yep. And that's it. It's so people can do the exercise and not actually be grounded and present. And so when we're teaching clients, we'll have them go through this. We'll say, how are you feeling? Mm-hmm. And if they're like, I don't know, I didn't really notice a change. Okay, let's do it again. Yep. Because clearly you didn't get what was pointed to. You got the pointer, but you didn't discover what was actually being pointed at. And the cool thing is when our clients actually connect internally and they have this experience that brings about, that facilitates for them, they end up describing the same thing that everyone else describes. And the same thing that as practitioners, we know in our own experiences, that is what it's like to be grounded. You got it. We might use different words, but we're describing the same exact thing. So being grounded is like, I'm in my body. I have less thoughts and worries. Maybe I'm observing the thoughts. I'm not just like, go, go, go. I usually feel settled. I usually feel a little release of tension. You know, Jeff feels relaxed. And so practice that until you can notice those shifts. And, you know, at that time of my life, I was really starting to use this. It was recommended like, you know, 5 to 10 times a day. And that I could couple it with things I already do to help it be simple. So I know I brush my teeth every day. Great. I'll ground then. I know I use the restroom. Great. I'll ground before I come out. If I drive somewhere, I either ground before I drive or certainly when I've arrived somewhere, because driving is very ungrounding.
Yep.
Also meal times. We should all be eating regular meals and not skipping, because that throws us into fight or flight. It's not very kind to our bodies when we skip meals. And we're usually sped up and powering through if we're skipping meals. So then knowing that, I'm like, okay, and then I've got my 3 meal times that I'm also going to ground before I eat. Why? Because that's going to help optimize digestion, metabolism, all of that. And are we tasting our food? Are we, you know, so slow down, taste your food 1 bite at a time, sit, don't eat standing, don't watch TV, be present with your food, smell it, right? Then we use the senses, smelling, sight, feeling it in my mouth, right? It's so you can bring mindfulness is another good word into these. And the more you have things in life that can show you, oh, am I grounded? Am I present? Am I mindful? That's going to help you shift your default and maintain that for a lifetime. So it's now I have self-awareness reminders everywhere in life.
And one more thing with eating that you mentioned one of the last times we met recently is I know a lot of people will like they eat and they have their silverware in their hands all the time. Like, when's the next bite? You know, and it's, you know, shovel it in there. And so, and it's been an unconscious thing for me to just put, you know, eat the food and put the silverware down and not hold it all the time. But that was one thing that you pointed out one time. You're like, if you don't do this, because it'll help you focus as well. So that's just a simple thing, but it's something nobody thinks about. Like, you don't even what's wrong with holding on to the silverware? Nothing. But if you set it down, you'll be able to pay attention to more of the things.
Oh, so. Yes. I can tell in how I eat, if I'm present or not, if I'm in survival, if I'm not. And then that simple practice of even putting the fork down, which don't take all this on, pick 1 or 2 things, right? For some weeks, and then you can move on. Then in 2 weeks, I'll tell you the next step. But, you know, it's when I have consciously, right? When I consciously choose to put the fork down, that's a pattern interrupt. I then come here. And then I'm present to what I'm eating, just 1 bite at a time. And it slows everything down. And when I started that practice, it was actually at a retreat. And where I learned this was a meditation retreat. And it was very interesting. I thought, not quite seriously, but I did wonder if she drugged the food. I thought she spiked the food.
Because of how different it felt?
Yes, because by the end of these meals, I was having these huge realizations, spiritual insights. And I'm like, what is in this food? And it was because I was finally present to be aware of these things. My brain could be in a whole brain state, communicate with itself, and I could start having ahas and creative insights and problem solving. And I had such amazing realizations when I first started this in that first week. And I really thought, I mean, it was so powerful. I wondered if she drugged the food. And part of it was I was actually getting nourished.
Yeah.
Because I was actually slowing down and nourishing myself, not just shoving in food. And what I noticed too is I didn't eat as much. I got fuller faster because I was actually receiving the energy, the nutrients from the food, because I was in a receptive state for that.
Yes.
So there really is something to this on a biochemical level, energetic level, mental, emotional levels. Because what message am I sending myself when I'm just shoving? And I'd like pressure myself to take the next bite. I'd have it ready. And I wasn't even done chewing. So, and I'm like, oh, where do I pressure myself for the next thing in life? All the time.
Yep.
So when we take one simple mindfulness practice of the fork, I'm like, oh, I'm stopping pressuring myself. Hurry up already, push through, get to the next thing. You're not even done with this thing. I stopped doing that, because when you pattern interrupt one pattern, it interrupts it across the board at everywhere else that pattern shows up. And it's magical that the fork, right, could change our entire life, but it could, because it's bringing the unconscious conscious and interrupting those patterns.
And cooking the food too. That applies to that too. I love to cook. That's my favorite thing to do. If and when I can slow down and do it at my pace, it is one of the most therapeutic things I can do, is spend a lot of time in the kitchen and just cook at my own pace. And then the food tastes better too.
Yes,
so
it does. And there's something to that, right? Putting intention into our food makes it taste better. And there's more higher vibration in it. Or of it, that it is. A few more. Okay, let's explore. And try all of these things out. Another one is just slowing down the breath. So on the commercial break, I actually checked my own breathing, and I counted how many seconds I think I'm breathing, and my inhales and exhales were pretty short, 1 to 2 seconds, really. And you guys probably too. So when I start focusing on my inhales being 3 to 5 seconds, it's not taking deeper breaths, it's slowing it down. When I slow down my breath intentionally and I'm doing 3 to 5 seconds, automatically, again, that's another way to have a coherent whole brain state. The HeartMath Institute has done tons of studies on this. So HeartMath is another way to kind of explore this. But that is a beautiful way to regulate and get present, is focusing on the breath, which is one thing. So let's try a couple inhales and exhales, just counting in your head 3 to 5 seconds. So for me, I usually start at 3, and then I can by the end expand it to about 5 once I've done it a few times. So
we're just sitting. We're not doing anything
just
sitting.
Breathing.
Okay.
Yep. So, and I'll do this on the inhale, this on the exhale, just so you guys can see it in me. "15 minutes of this, very powerful. And a lot of people experience more clarity, more creativity, more calm and peace, a regulated state, and a state of coherence, which is the optimal performance state. Being in a coherent state is in optimal performance with the most minimal stress possible. So that's where we want to live, right? So this is a good one. And even doing that twice, I can feel, again, a shift. So you could practice this while you're driving. You could practice this 15 minutes a day. You could practice it for 5 minutes a couple times. It doesn't matter, but play with it, right? And you could actually learn. There's been periods of my life where I'm breathing that way almost all the time. That's another thing to do.
Well, and one thing about the breathing is how are you breathing too? Like you talked about it, and I feel like it's worth saying. Like I've been singing since I was in high school. I've been a singer forever, and the way they always taught us from the beginning is to fill up your lungs like you fill up a glass of water. So if I take a deep breath, you're never going to see my shoulders move. Because it's all happening in my lower body, in my diaphragm, in the lower part of my abdomen, and it's filling up this way. It's not, this kind of breathing is never going to get you anywhere. That's going to hurt you more. That's going to help you. That's fight or flight right there is what it is.
Yes.
So if you breathe, think about your lungs like a glass of water, and you're filling them up from the bottom up. And it takes practice and it takes discipline to consistently breathe like that. But it is so cool.
Yeah.
So
when we're triggered or we're anxious or we have feelings arising, I immediately drop into breath now, because it's automatic for me. I just know what to do. I've practiced over many, many years. I think I don't know how many, but breathing into it. And then it's beautiful because as I allow myself to feel my feelings, I'm breathing into it. I'm not constricting and suppressing and avoiding. It's a way for me to actually move it through my body. And that's we'll talk about it later, but that's a huge practice. Most of our illnesses are suppressed and repressed stress that tells our body, I have to survive because this isn't resolved. And obviously you're not consciously resolving it. So it's okay. We'll be in a survival pattern until you're ready. That's the most of what being in sympathetic dominance is, and chronic illness is that from one point of view.
Right.
So a couple more,
Yep.
and then I know we'll wrap up because I got us
We
on
got
time.
about
If these are
4
easy,
minutes to go. Yeah.
if you just ask yourself, I wonder what thought is going to happen next.
Mm.
And then watch for it, listen for it. That state of listening is present. I don't know if you felt it, Jeff, but things got real quiet for
Yeah,
me,
it did.
and I was just observing. Again, I'm being the observer. So that's one. Okay.
Yeah.
Eckhart Tolle, that's from his book, The Power of Now, which is so great. And then the last one that I usually tell people to play with and see what works for them to integrate into their lives on a regular, consistent, multiple time a day basis is taking a few deep breaths. You know, we're not going to do it together, but I'll describe it. You know, you inhale, you hold for 5 seconds, you exhale and swallow. You do 3 breaths that way. And then you listen to sounds really far away. So again, it's activating that listen. It's breath work plus listening. So then you listen to sounds really far away. So the first one was, I wonder what thought. You're listening here. You're still present. This one is like, can I hear cars driving on the highway 7 blocks away? I'm like really listening really hard, really closely. And just there's tons of studies around all of these different techniques we've kind of combined. But that one immediately changes your brain waves. All of these change your brain waves into a more regulated state. So you're not operating in that highest brain wave. It's slowing those brain waves down to open and access those unconscious things. So these are all the ones I usually teach in our classes and workshops. And we usually tell our clients, we pick one that we feel is best for them. And that's the one they do. And they do that. They don't mix it up. You know, they do that one consistently 5 to 10 times a day and get in the practice of what that teaches them. And then you can play with the others because they kind of point to some different things. So those are pointers. Now you have all the pointers to begin learning to be present. And none of what I say is going to make a difference. You have to go in and do it and discover it yourself. There's a gold treasure trove all up in here. And I'm inviting you to go excavate and find it.
Yes. Bring it on.
Okay.
Yeah, that's awesome. And you inviting people to do it because you have to do it yourself. You have to want to do it and want to have to take the time to do it. And yeah, so
set your reminders on your phone or your calendar. Like you will forget. We know, be honest about your human behavior and set yourself up for success. And if you begin to practice this, you will notice shifts in every direction of your life if you truly are grounded. And if you need help with this, we schedule a consult. We'll do it together and I will help you discover being in the parasympathetic and finding what I'm talking about within your own body.
Totally. Exactly. I love it. Yeah, seriously, guys, schedule a time because this is important stuff. And it would be so great to have this as a second nature thing, to just be able to do it, not to think about it consciously. So yeah, but it does take practice. So if you need help, that's what Michal is here for. Yes. So yeah, thank you, Michal. Awesome. Amazing. And so so we have 5 of these. We're going to cover the second one next time in a couple of weeks. And so we will see you then. Thank you so much for being here and talk to you in a little bit. All right, everybody. Man, telling you. Like you guys, seriously, this is good stuff, right? This is good stuff. You gotta, this is mind-blowing stuff, but it's awesome. So boy, thank you for being here. Thank you. If this is brand new to you and this is your first time watching, thank you for being here. If you've been watching for a while, I so appreciate you being here. Thank you. If you're watching on Facebook, YouTube, like, subscribe, share, all the things, and join us for our next show, which will be on December 20th. Well, I guess that's a couple shows before Christmas Day, but we are going to have a show that will air on December 24th. Catherine and I will be on that show talking about some really cool stuff about how to not drive yourself crazy Christmas Eve. And the other, and there is a special coming up. You know what? This is actually, the special was actually on December 12th, but you might be able to catch the replay. If you go to our Facebook page or our YouTube channel, you can find the 2-hour special that aired on December 12th at 6 p.m. Mountain Time. That was with Michal and some of her students that are now through the program and doing amazing things. So go check that out on our Facebook page and YouTube channel, and join us on the 20th for our next show. And until then, have an amazing day. We'll see you soon.